Alright friends, I had to tell you this story about my flat tire yesterday, so join me for a car lunch and let's get started. So I'm actually not even in my own car right now because my brake pedal went to the floor on Friday, and at least it happened in a driveway as opposed to the highway. So we were down to just one car, which was my partner's, and we were sharing it because thank God he works in town now and not an hour away like he used to. So that's been a win. So I'm driving his car yesterday and I take it out of town and it's super windy, right? We're getting this like torrential blizzard condition basically, except it's above freezing where I'm at, so we're getting all the wind, but like it's still safe to drive. So I take it out of town to run my errand, and then I get back into our town and I get this low tire signal, right? And I'm like, oh yeah, the temperature's dropping, it's getting cold, I'll put air in the tire later. So in the afternoon, I go to leave. I have to get one signature on an invoice and go pick my partner up from work. And I leave, and immediately the tire is flat, or basically flat. So I try to limp it to a gas station, which was like a mile away, and I made it, and it was fine. So I get out, and the tire is steaming, firstly, because the heat from driving on the tire was so hot that it was melting the ice and snow that was on the tire. And so I go to put air in the tire, and I put the nozzle on, it pumps air in, and I take it off, and it's just like there's definitely a huge hole in the tire, right? So have to call grandma. Thank God we live in the town where she lives and not a half hour away anymore. We're in the most metropolitan area that we are, we're in BFE, Iowa. But thank God I got picked up and didn't have to sit in a cold car, but that's not the end of the story. So, two adulting wounds. One, we have always had roadside assistance through our insurance because I used to drive like 25,000 miles a year for my old job. Like, I was always on the road traveling across the cornfields of Iowa doing music therapy. And so I actually did have several breakdowns like my first couple years because our cars were a little shit. So we've always had that roadside assistance. So one, thank God we had roadside, right? And since we don't live in BFE, Iowa as much anymore, there was a tow truck there within 30 minutes. They got it to the tire shop, and because we were already customers of the tire shop, by the time I called them, they had already looked up our tire, and the whole thing was over in a few hours. But here's the even better thing. So we are broke right now. We got snow money. I mean, we have a little bit, we're surviving, but, a huge tire cost is not in the cards, right? And my grandma was so gracious and willing to help. However, we also always get road hazard on our tires. The tire was free. It was $30. That's all we had to pay for was the labor. And that was just such a huge freaking blessing. And so it reminded me of how I had set myself up in the past to have this good foundation. So when shit hit the fan, basically, I was covered. Even though, in this moment, like, I'm waiting on those paychecks next week. I'm getting one from his school district and one from Medicaid, and mom is waiting. But because past me had the foresight to protect myself in the past, I was fine. I was actually fine, even though it could have been a horrible, horrible day. Everything turned out fine. And so that got me thinking. So we hear people talk about laying the foundations for mental health, right? And just like my tire, when something comes along that rocks the boat, because I had protected myself in the past through the roadside assistance and through the road hazard on the tire, and how it was completely covered, we can apply those same ideas to our mental health. We can do the work to understand what our triggers are, how to regulate ourselves, how to deal with, feel, and express these big emotions in a healthy way, and ultimately how to set ourselves up for success in our day-to-day through daily habits, journaling, meditation, mindfulness, all these different things that we do for wellness so that when life does hit the fan, we are at a much better place to handle it. Does that mean we're going to be perfect? No, I mean, there have been times where, stuff has hit the fan for me and I have melted down, exploded. I mean, like, even like this week, right? So that doesn't mean we always handle things perfectly, but it gives us the tools to have the potential to handle it better. And little by little, through this work, through understanding, through catching ourselves in the moment, or even stopping ourselves, say we're halfway through a meltdown and we're like, hey, I need to do something to regulate myself and get out of this. That is how we lay that foundation for mental health. Join us for Phoenix Top 40, where we learn how to do this and more. Until next time, love you, bye!